In a small, close-knit community where everyone seemed to know each other, lived a young black boy named Marcus. From a very young age, Marcus was different. While most of the kids in his neighborhood spent their time playing sports or video games, Marcus was often found with his nose buried in books or sketching out elaborate designs in his notebook. He wasn't interested in the same things as his peers, and he certainly didn't dream small. Marcus had big dreams. He wanted to be an architect. His fascination with buildings began when he was just 5 years old, spending hours with his grandfather, a retired construction worker, who would tell him stories about the skyscrapers they built together. Marcus would listen intently, imagining himself one day designing buildings that would touch the sky. But as he grew older and started school, Marcus quickly realized that not everyone shared his excitement about his dreams. His classmates would often laugh at him when he talked about becoming an architect. "You, an architect? Get real, Marcus," they would sneer. They couldn't understand why someone like him would even think about such a lofty goal, especially in a town where most people stuck to more traditional, blue-collar jobs. The teasing only grew worse as Marcus continued to excel in subjects like math and art, both essential for his dream. While his teachers encouraged him, his peers mocked him relentlessly, calling him weird or delusional. They would draw crude cartoons of him standing next to lopsided buildings, jeering at his ambition. Yet, despite the constant mockery, Marcus's passion never wavered. Every insult hurled at him only fueled his determination to prove everyone wrong. In the quiet of his room, away from the taunts, he would sketch even more, studying famous buildings and reading everything he could about architecture. Marcus was determined that one day, he would show them all what he was truly capable of. As Marcus moved into his teenage years, the pressure from his peers only intensified. High school was a difficult time for him, not just because of the academic challenges, but because the mockery he faced grew even harsher. The other boys at school seemed to take every opportunity to remind him that his dreams were unrealistic. They would mockingly call him the dreamer, and would loudly question why he even bothered with his stupid sketches. It wasn't just the teasing that made things tough for Marcus. His family, while loving and supportive, didn't fully understand his passion. His mother worked long hours as a nurse, and his father was often away for work. They encouraged him to do well in school, but gently nudged him toward more practical careers, like engineering or medicine. They wanted what was best for him, and in their minds, becoming an architect seemed like a distant, impossible dream. To make matters worse, Marcus's neighborhood was plagued with challenges that made focusing on his goals even harder. Crime rates were high, and it wasn't uncommon to hear about another young person falling into the wrong crowd. Marcus could feel the weight of his surroundings pulling at him, trying to drag him down the same path as so many others around him. Despite all this, Marcus remained steadfast. He poured all his energy into his studies, especially in subjects that would help him achieve his dream. Late at night, when the neighborhood was quiet, he would sit by his window and sketch by the light of a small lamp. Sometimes, when the noise outside became too much, he would put on his headphones, drown out the world, and immerse himself in the world of architectural design. But even with his strong resolve, there were times when Marcus doubted himself. The ridicule, the lack of understanding from those around him, and the harsh realities of his environment weighed heavily on him. There were moments when he wondered if maybe everyone was right, if maybe his dreams were just that, dreams. Yet, every time he felt like giving up, something deep within him pushed him forward. He knew he was capable of more, and he refused to let anyone or anything stand in his way. Marcus kept his eyes on the prize, silently promising himself that one day, he would turn his dreams into reality, no matter how many people doubted him. In the midst of all the challenges, Marcus found solace in the most unexpected place. His art teacher, Mrs. Thompson. She was an older woman, passionate about art and design, and she had a keen eye for talent. One day, after noticing Marcus's detailed sketches in the margins of his notebook, she called him aside after class. "Marcus," she said with a warm smile, "these drawings are exceptional. Have you ever considered pursuing a career in architecture?" Her words took him by surprise. For so long, he had kept his dream to himself, fearing the judgment and disbelief of others. Now, here was someone who not only saw his potential but also encouraged it. "I've thought about it," Marcus admitted, his voice hesitant. Mrs. Thompson nodded thoughtfully. "You have a gift, Marcus. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Architecture isn't just about building structures. It's about creating spaces where people live, work, and find inspiration. And I believe you have what it takes to excel in that field." From that day on, Mrs. Thompson became more than just a teacher to Marcus. She became a mentor. She would spend extra time with him after school, giving him books on architecture and design, showing him famous buildings from around the world, and teaching him the fundamentals of structure and space. She even introduced him to architectural software, helping him turn his sketches into digital models. For the first time, Marcus felt like his dreams were within reach. He began to see the path forward, and with Mrs. Thompson's guidance, his confidence grew. The ridicule from his peers still stung, but it no longer had the power to shake his resolve. He had found someone who believed in him, and that belief fueled his determination. As the months passed, Marcus's skills improved dramatically. He started to enter local design competitions, and to his amazement, he began winning. His work was being recognized, not just by his teacher but by others in the community as well. The more success he found, the more his dream of becoming an architect seemed possible. But as Marcus's talent blossomed, so did the resentment from some of his classmates. They couldn't understand how someone like him, someone they had always dismissed, could be gaining recognition. The mocking continued, but now it was tinged with jealousy and bitterness. Still, Marcus kept pushing forward. He knew that his journey was just beginning, and he was determined to prove to everyone, especially himself, that he could achieve what he had always dreamed of. As Marcus's reputation grew, so did the challenges he faced. Winning local competitions and gaining recognition in the community was thrilling, but it also brought new pressures and responsibilities. With each victory came the expectation that he would continue to succeed, and this weight began to press heavily on Marcus's shoulders. One day, while working on a particularly complex design for an upcoming competition, Marcus found himself struggling. The project required him to create a blueprint for a modern community center, complete with innovative features that would appeal to a wide range of people. It was unlike anything he had attempted before, and despite his growing skills, Marcus felt overwhelmed. He spent hours hunched over his sketches, erasing and redrawing lines, but nothing seemed to come together the way he envisioned. The frustration mounted as the deadline approached, and for the first time in a long while, doubt began to creep back into his mind. What if he wasn't good enough? What if all the people who had mocked him were right? The pressure also began to affect his schoolwork. Balancing his academic responsibilities with his passion for architecture became increasingly difficult, and his grades started to slip. Teachers who had once praised his efforts began to express concern, and Marcus felt the strain of trying to meet everyone's expectations. At home, things were no easier. His mother, while supportive, worried about the long hours he was spending on his projects. She noticed the toll it was taking on him, the late nights, the missed meals, the constant stress. She tried to encourage him to take a break, but Marcus was determined to prove himself. He couldn't shake the fear that if he slowed down, he would lose everything he had worked so hard for. But amid all the stress and doubt, Marcus found strength in his passion. Despite the setbacks, he couldn't deny the joy he felt when working on his designs. Even when the work was difficult, it was still what he loved, and that love kept him going. He reminded himself of Mrs. Thompson's words, of the confidence she had in him, and of the success he had already achieved. One evening, as he sat staring at his unfinished blueprint, Marcus had a realization. He was trying too hard to meet others' expectations instead of following his own vision. He had gotten so caught up in the pressure to succeed that he had forgotten why he started in the first place, because he loved creating, designing, and imagining new possibilities. With this renewed perspective, Marcus decided to approach the project differently. He set aside the need for perfection and focused on creating something that truly reflected his passion. The next few days were intense, but Marcus found himself enjoying the process again. He experimented with new ideas, took creative risks, and allowed himself to think outside the box. When the deadline finally arrived, Marcus submitted his design with a mixture of pride and relief. It wasn't perfect, but it was his, an authentic expression of his vision and creativity. Now, all he could do was wait and see if his efforts would pay off. After the competition, Marcus was flooded with congratulations from people who had once doubted him. His win had not only earned him respect in the design community, but also inspired many who had heard his story. He was approached by industry professionals, local business owners, and even representatives from prestigious architecture firms, all eager to work with him or offer guidance. One of the most surprising moments came when Marcus received an invitation to meet with the dean of the local university. The same university that had once rejected his application was now interested in offering him a full scholarship to study architecture, recognizing the talent and potential he had demonstrated. Marcus was thrilled by the opportunity, but he didn't accept it right away. Instead, Marcus took time to reflect on his journey. He realized that while the scholarship was a fantastic offer, he wanted to continue working in the community, using his skills to make a direct impact. His vision of building the community center was more alive than ever, and now, with his newfound recognition, he was closer to making it a reality. With the prize money from the competition, Marcus was able to secure a small piece of land in his neighborhood. He began working on the community center project, using the connections he had made to gather support and resources. Architects and engineers volunteered their time, local businesses donated materials, and people from the neighborhood pitched in to help with construction. As the months passed, the community center began to take shape. It became a symbol of hope and determination, not just for Marcus, but for everyone in the neighborhood. The center was designed to offer educational programs, workshops, and recreational activities, providing opportunities for people of all ages to learn and grow. The opening day of the community center was a celebration like no other. People from all over the city came to see the culmination of Marcus's hard work and determination. The media covered the event, sharing Marcus's story of perseverance and success with a wider audience. As Marcus stood in front of the completed building, looking at the smiling faces of the people around him, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was what he had always wanted, to create something that would have a lasting impact on the lives of others. His journey had been far from easy, but every challenge had only made him stronger. And as he watched children playing in the new center, he knew that this was just the beginning. The dreams he had once been mocked for were now a reality, and they had the power to change lives for generations to come. The day of the competition arrived, and Marcus felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. He had poured his heart and soul into the project, and now it was time to see how it would be received. The competition was being held at a large convention center in the city, and as Marcus walked through the doors, he was struck by the scale of the event. Architectural firms, university students, and aspiring designers from all over the region had gathered to showcase their work. The room buzzed with energy as competitors set up their displays, each hoping to catch the judges' attention. Marcus found his assigned spot and carefully arranged his presentation materials, feeling a knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. He couldn't help but notice the other competitors around him. Some were older, with years of experience and advanced degrees, while others were students from prestigious design schools. Marcus suddenly felt very small in comparison. Doubts began to surface again. What chance did he have against these seasoned professionals and highly trained students? But Marcus reminded himself of how far he had come. He thought about the long hours he had spent refining his skills, the competitions he had already won, and the support he had received from his mother and Mrs. Thompson. He realized that he belonged here, just as much as anyone else. As the judging began, Marcus watched as the panel of experts moved from one display to the next, carefully evaluating each design. When they finally reached his table, Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. He took a deep breath and began to explain his project, detailing the inspiration behind his community center design and the innovative features he had incorporated. The judges listened intently, occasionally nodding or asking questions. Marcus could tell they were interested, but he couldn't read their expressions well enough to gauge their reactions. After what felt like an eternity, the judges thanked him for his presentation and moved on to the next entry. The waiting that followed was agonizing. Marcus tried to distract himself by wandering around the convention center, looking at the other designs, but he couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. Had he done enough? Had his project stood out among the dozens of other impressive entries? Finally, the moment came when the winners were to be announced. All the competitors gathered near the stage, the air thick with anticipation. Marcus stood among them, his hands clammy, his heart racing. He watched as the event organizer took the microphone and began to announce the top 3 projects. Third place was awarded to a university team that had designed a sleek, futuristic office building. Marcus's heart sank a little. Second place went to an experienced architect who had created a sustainable housing complex. Marcus bit his lip, feeling his hope dwindle. Then, the organizer paused before announcing the first-place winner. And the winner of this year's design competition is... Marcus held his breath. The name echoed through the convention center, and for a moment, he couldn't believe what he was hearing. It was his name. Marcus had won first place. The realization hit him like a wave, and for a second, he was too stunned to move. When he finally made his way to the stage, the room erupted in applause. As Marcus accepted the award, he felt a mix of pride, relief, and disbelief. All the hard work, the doubt, the challenges, it had all led to this moment. He had proven to himself and to everyone else that he was capable, that he belonged, and that his dreams were worth pursuing. As he stood on the stage, holding his trophy, Marcus looked out at the crowd. He spotted his mother in the audience, tears of joy streaming down her face, and Mrs. Thompson, beaming with pride. This was the moment Marcus had worked for, but he knew it was only the beginning of his journey. As the community center thrived, Marcus's success story spread far and wide. One day, while overseeing a new project at the center, Marcus received an unexpected visit. It was from one of his old school teachers, Mrs. Thompson, who had once discouraged him from pursuing his architectural dreams. Mrs. Thompson approached Marcus with a mixture of awe and regret. She confessed that she had underestimated him all those years ago, and that she was deeply sorry for not supporting his ambitions. Marcus listened quietly, his thoughts returning to the many times he had felt discouraged by her lack of faith in him. But as he looked at Mrs. Thompson, now older and humbled by the success of her former student, Marcus realized something important. Holding on to resentment would only weigh him down. He had proven himself, not just to her, but to everyone who had doubted him, and, most importantly, he had proven to himself that he was capable of achieving his dreams. With a warm smile, Marcus extended his hand and thanked Mrs. Thompson for coming. He assured her that her words, though painful at the time, had fueled his determination to succeed. They stood together, looking out at the community center, a testament to what hard work, perseverance, and belief could accomplish. Mrs. Thompson, moved by Marcus's forgiveness and the impact he had made, offered to volunteer at the center, hoping to contribute in any way she could. Marcus welcomed her involvement, seeing it as another step towards healing and growth for both of them. The encounter reminded Marcus of the importance of forgiveness and the power of turning negativity into motivation. It was another chapter in his journey, one that showed how far he had come and how much more he could accomplish. As the day ended, Marcus walked through the halls of the center, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. The dreams of the young boy who had been mocked were now a reality, and his story had come full circle, inspiring others to chase their dreams, no matter the obstacles. With the community center flourishing, Marcus began to expand its reach beyond the local neighborhood. He started forming partnerships with local businesses, schools, and other organizations to provide more resources and opportunities for the people the center served. His goal was to create a network of support that could uplift the entire community. One of the most significant partnerships came from a well-known university that had heard about Marcus's work. They offered to provide scholarships and mentorship programs for young people who showed promise but lacked the means to pursue higher education. Marcus knew how much this could change lives, just as a chance had once changed his. In addition to the educational opportunities, Marcus also worked with local businesses to create job training programs. These programs helped people in the community gain the skills they needed to secure stable employment and improve their lives. The center became a place where dreams could be realized, where people of all ages could find the support they needed to succeed. The impact of the community center rippled out, changing the lives of countless individuals. Stories of people who had turned their lives around because of the opportunities provided by the center began to circulate. Marcus's vision of a community united and empowered was becoming a reality. As the community center grew, so did Marcus's influence. He was invited to speak at conferences, schools, and events, sharing his story and inspiring others to pursue their dreams no matter the challenges they faced. He used these platforms to advocate for the importance of community support and the role that individuals could play in making a difference. Marcus's journey from a boy mocked for his dreams to a man who had transformed his community was a testament to the power of resilience, vision, and the belief that change was possible. And as the community center continued to grow, so did the hope and opportunities for everyone who walked through its doors. As Marcus's work gained attention, it wasn't long before local media started to take notice. Reporters began visiting the community center, curious about the man who had turned his childhood dreams into a reality that was now changing lives. They were struck by Marcus's humility and passion, as well as the undeniable impact his center had on the community. One day, a well-known journalist decided to feature Marcus's story in a special segment about unsung heroes in the city. The piece aired on television, showing clips of the community center in action. Children studying in after-school programs, adults learning new job skills, and Marcus himself, working tirelessly behind the scenes. The segment highlighted not just the services provided by the center, but the spirit of hope and empowerment that Marcus had instilled in the community. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in from viewers who were moved by Marcus's story. People from all walks of life, including former residents who had moved away, wanted to contribute to the mission of the community center. With the new funds, Marcus was able to expand the programs even further, adding new classes, upgrading facilities, and hiring more staff to meet the growing demand. In addition to the financial support, Marcus began receiving invitations to speak at larger events, even at national conferences focused on community development and education. His story resonated with people across the country, and he was lauded not only as a local hero, but as a symbol of what one person could achieve with determination and a desire to help others. One of the most significant recognitions came in the form of an award from the mayor of the city. At a special ceremony, Marcus was presented with the Citizen of the Year award, an honor given to those who have made exceptional contributions to the community. Standing on stage, surrounded by his family, friends, and many of the people whose lives he had touched, Marcus accepted the award with deep gratitude. He dedicated it to the community, saying that it was their strength and resilience that had made everything possible. As Marcus looked out at the crowd, he saw the faces of people who had once doubted him, people who had mocked him for his dreams. Now, those same people were applauding him, recognizing the extraordinary achievements of the boy they had once underestimated. The applause was not just for what he had done, but for the man he had become. This recognition was not just a personal victory for Marcus. It was a validation of the belief that everyone, regardless of their background or the challenges they face, has the potential to achieve greatness. It was a moment of triumph, not just for him, but for everyone who had ever dared to dream. A few weeks after receiving the Citizen of the Year award, Marcus was invited to speak at a major community event in the city. The event was aimed at inspiring young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, showing them that with hard work and determination, they could overcome any obstacles in their path. On the day of the event, Marcus arrived at the venue, which was packed with hundreds of eager listeners. As he took the stage, he felt a sense of pride and responsibility. He knew that many of the young people in the audience were facing the same challenges he had once faced, and he wanted to give them hope. Marcus began his speech by sharing his journey, his dreams as a young boy, the mockery he faced, and the difficult road to achieving his goals. He spoke about the importance of resilience, of believing in oneself even when others don't, and of finding strength in community. As Marcus continued to speak, he noticed a familiar face in the crowd. It was Mr. Thompson, his old high school teacher, who had once dismissed his dreams as unrealistic. Marcus was momentarily taken aback, but quickly regained his composure. He finished his speech, focusing on the positive message he wanted to convey, but he couldn't shake the feeling of seeing his former teacher in the audience. After the event, as people crowded around Marcus to congratulate him and thank him for his inspiring words, Mr. Thompson approached him. The teacher looked older, but there was a softness in his expression that Marcus hadn't seen before. "Marcus," Mr. Thompson began, his voice filled with emotion, "I've been following your journey, and I want to apologize. I didn't see your potential back then, and I regret not supporting you when you needed it the most." Marcus was silent for a moment, absorbing the unexpected apology. He had never imagined that Mr. Thompson would acknowledge his mistakes, let alone apologize for them. But as he looked at the older man, Marcus realized that this moment was not just about forgiveness. It was about closure. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," Marcus replied, his voice steady. I appreciate your words, but I also want you to know that everything that happened, good and bad, helped shape me into who I am today. So, in a way, I'm grateful for all of it." Mr. Thompson nodded, his eyes misty with tears. "You've become an incredible man, Marcus. I'm proud of you." The two men shook hands, and for the first time, Marcus felt a sense of peace regarding his past. He had not only proven his critics wrong, but he had also grown beyond the need for their validation. The reunion with Mr. Thompson marked the closing of a chapter in Marcus's life, allowing him to fully embrace the future with confidence and without any lingering resentment. As Marcus walked away from the event, he felt lighter, as if a weight he hadn't even realized he was carrying had been lifted. He knew that his story was far from over, but he also knew that he was ready for whatever came next. The unexpected reunion with his former teacher was a reminder that even the most painful experiences could lead to moments of growth and understanding. It was a fitting conclusion to one part of Marcus's journey, and the beginning of a new chapter filled with endless possibilities. With the reconciliation with Mr. Thompson behind him, Marcus felt more motivated than ever. His story had inspired countless people, and he knew that he had a responsibility to continue making a positive impact. He decided to turn his focus toward helping others who were facing similar challenges to those he had once encountered. Marcus began visiting schools, particularly in underprivileged areas, to speak to students about the importance of perseverance, self-belief, and education. He wanted to reach young people who, like him, might have felt marginalized or doubted because of their backgrounds. His message was simple: no dream is too big, and no obstacle is too great if you're willing to work hard and stay true to yourself. The impact of Marcus's efforts was immediate and profound. Students who had been disengaged and unmotivated began to see their potential. They looked up to Marcus as a role model, someone who had walked in their shoes and come out the other side stronger. Teachers and administrators also noticed a change in the school environments. There was a renewed sense of hope and ambition among the students. Marcus didn't stop at motivational speaking. He started a mentorship program, pairing young people with professionals in various fields who could guide them and provide them with opportunities they might not have otherwise had. The program grew rapidly, attracting attention from local businesses, non-profits, and even government officials who wanted to support the initiative. But Marcus's work didn't just change the lives of the students he mentored, it also changed him. He found that by helping others, he was continuing to heal from his own past experiences. He saw the same fears and doubts he once had in the eyes of the students he worked with, and he knew that by offering them support and encouragement, he was giving them something he had desperately needed during his own journey. As the mentorship program expanded, Marcus began to consider how he could make an even bigger impact. He started collaborating with local organizations to secure scholarships for students who showed potential but lacked the financial means to pursue higher education. He also worked with companies to create internship opportunities, giving students real-world experience in the fields they were passionate about. The community quickly recognized the significance of Marcus's work. He was invited to speak at conferences, featured in media interviews, and even received awards for his contributions to education and youth development. But for Marcus, the real reward was seeing the young people he mentored succeed. When one of his ments was accepted into a prestigious university or landed their first job, Marcus felt a sense of pride that was beyond anything he had ever experienced. Through his efforts, Marcus transformed the challenges he had faced into opportunities not only for himself, but also for the next generation. He had turned his pain into purpose, and in doing so, he had created a legacy that would continue to inspire and uplift others long after his story had been told. As the years passed, Marcus's influence continued to grow. The mentorship program he had founded expanded beyond the city and began to reach students across the country. His story was taught in classrooms as an example of resilience and the power of turning adversity into triumph. Marcus became a symbol of hope, not just for those who had faced discrimination, but for anyone who had ever been told they couldn't achieve their dreams. But Marcus never sought the spotlight. He remained humble, focused on his mission to help others. He continued to work directly with students, never losing sight of the importance of personal connection. Marcus knew that every handshake, every word of encouragement, could make a difference in someone's life. As his mentorship program celebrated its 10th anniversary, a special event was held in his honor. Former Ments, now successful professionals in their own right, gathered to celebrate the man who had changed their lives. Many of them shared stories of how Marcus's guidance had helped them overcome their own struggles and achieve their goals. One of the most touching moments of the evening came when a young woman, who had been one of Marcus's first Ments, took the stage. She had just completed her PhD and was now a professor at a prestigious university. Holding back tears, she thanked Marcus for believing in her when no one else did. "You didn't just change my life," she said. "You gave me the strength to change the lives of others." Marcus was deeply moved by her words. He realized that his work had created a ripple effect. By helping one person, he had indirectly helped many more. The impact of his efforts would continue to grow, carried forward by those he had inspired. The event ended with a surprise announcement: the establishment of the Marcus Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to providing educational opportunities to underprivileged youth. The foundation, funded by donations from businesses, community leaders, and grateful Ments, would ensure that Marcus's work would continue for generations to come. As Marcus looked out at the crowd, filled with people whose lives he had touched, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had faced unimaginable challenges, but he had turned them into something beautiful. His journey had not only transformed his own life, but had also left a lasting legacy that would empower others to do the same. In the end, Marcus's story was not just one of personal triumph. It was a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of community, and the impact one person can have on the world. And as he walked off the stage that night, surrounded by the people whose lives he had changed, Marcus knew that his journey was far from over. There were still more dreams to nurture, more lives to uplift, and more stories to write.